Welcome to the third edition of our morning classes on entrepreneurship. Today, we're going to talk about market research and a guide for entrepreneurs on how to do it. In the first two classes, we talked about how to identify a problem and that you needed a third party stated fact that showed that whatever the opportunity or the problem that you were going to solve actually existed. People can't just trust that whatever you say is a problem or an opportunity is real unless they see an attributable third-party fact from a source that people can trust. So today we're going to talk about how to go and get these third-party facts to support whatever your idea is. In our second class, we talked about what is the solution that you're going to offer and how do you explain it. And as I mentioned, when you do it, you have to explain it in a way that anybody could understand, not just people who have a background in that area or they have a technical background. I always say if my mom can't explain the idea to her Mahjong group, then I have to keep working on it. So we're going to focus today on understand the importance of market research, how to identify target audiences, explore methods to gather and analyze data, and apply knowledge through hands-on activity. So first, we want to do the market research, which is critical. And I always like to see in a presentation at least 3 to 5 attributable facts that will tell us about who the customer is, how big the market is, whether the trend for that is growing. So if you had talked to people 10 years ago about cryptocurrency, there was only a handful of people that really knew about it. And there was only a handful of cryptocurrencies. But now there are over 22,500 cryptocurrencies, and people are buying it around the world. And it's a market that keeps growing. If you'd been in the very beginning of cryptocurrency, you could have gotten very cheaply some of the top cryptocurrencies. And now some of them are selling for over $100,000 a coin. So if you understood that, or if you knew about how AI was growing and that individuals like you and I could use AI, you might have bought stock in Nvidia before it became the most valued company on the planet with a worth of about $5 trillion. So now you're looking into insights into customer needs and preferences. You're trying to find out what problems need solving, and to identify opportunities and reduce risk by doing this market research and not just building a product. I worked with a guy in the United States who built a DVR for the radio, and he thought it would be really cool that if you had a DVR that allowed you to collect radio shows and listen to them later. And I wondered how many people would really care to do that? And most radio shows are online now, and you can listen to them later. I asked him what research he did. He had done no research, spent $75,000 getting a patent for this idea, built a prototype, and he had even been a business writer for a major publication. You'd have thought he would have known better, but he didn't. And he spent this money, and there was no market for this. Market research also informs product development and marketing strategies. When I started a venture called Prompt Payment, I raised $3.2 billion for a process that matched up vendors, people selling things to companies, with the companies buying them. And we would fund the purchases, and the companies would pay us later. We developed a process for matching companies and funding these purchases. But what turned out was the process we developed was all wrong, and the companies did not want it the way we had developed it. The companies buying the products, and so we had to rebuild it. But if we had done our proper market research and we had talked to the companies that were using it, we would have developed the product the right way from the very beginning. Also, we would also learn more about who exactly is using it because there are three groups. There are check writers, users, and influencers. You guys are users. Your parents put you in private school, then they put you in college, and so they're the check writers, and you're using the education that they've paid for. And the influencers are the college mentors that prepare you for applying to different schools, who can also recommend other schools as well. So you do the market research to find out, is there a real market for my product or service idea? And who would actually be the ones that buy it? So there's a company in the United States that the guy created a certain type of kitty litter, and the kitty litter really wasn't selling well. And one day he had a flood in the basement of his house, and he went to go buy a water vac to go suck up the water. And he went to the hardware store, but before he left, he took his kitty litter and put it in socks, and he put it as a barrier to block the water from spreading. When he got home, all the water was gone. He couldn't believe it. Turns out that the kitty litter could be a good product to go and soak up water when there's a flood or a major spill. So he changed his business model from kitty litter to what he called crap in a sock. And he sold those socks to hardware stores. And 3 years ago, he sold that business for $250 million, all because he learned about a different use for his product. So you might start with one thing, but it could end up being something totally different. So steps for conducting market research: you're going to go and identify target audiences that you think would want to buy it. You gather data through surveys, and you can do those surveys on Facebook and Google. That will allow you to do it. You interview people that you think would actually spend money with you on your product and service, and you do research to find out where the markets are for what you're doing. You analyze trends and potential demand for what you're doing by going on and doing this third-party research. And you can use AI, but you can also use a website called ceoexpress.com, ceoexpress.com, and has links to all kinds of information. You can use the findings to refine your business strategy and determine that the idea you originally came up with may not be the right idea, and make adjustments in it. So identifying the target audience. As I mentioned, there's users who will use the product or service, check writers, those who pay for it, and influencers, those who influence the purchase of decisions. So if you're buying fashion, you might be following somebody, a expert on fashion, and they might be the ones that push you toward buying certain brands, certain types of wear that you use every day. With check writers, when I started this company called Prompt Funding Organizer, the check writers were the CEOs of banks and chief lending officers. I was talking to the users who loved the idea, but the two people who would write the checks, they thought, it's a good idea, but I'm not interested in writing checks for it. I don't want to spend money on this area. Another example was tutor applications. Students, check writers, students are the users, the check writers are the parents, and the influencers are teachers who encourage you to go and have somebody tutor you so you can improve your math skills. Or you might also be taking tennis lessons or pickleball lessons. So your parents are paying for that, and you are the user of that. And the influencer might be all your friends who are playing pickleball. You watch video on TikTok or YouTube, and now you want to play that game yourself. Characteristics of a target audience: you're looking at the demographics. You're looking at the age of the people that you're thinking of targeting, their gender, if it's male or female, income level that people have. Can they afford the product or service that I'm selling? And the location. So Yesterday, I was in Eco Park and I was looking for Meesway and I couldn't find a Meesway place for me to buy bubble tea. In Ocean Park, we only have one location, but throughout Hanoi, there are tons of locations out there. So I always wonder, why is Meesway located in specific places? At one point in Ocean Park, we had two locations here. And what I noticed was I'm going to be 65. I noticed all the buyers were young people, mostly all under the age of 25 that were coming into the store. Occasionally, parents would come in with their younger kids and they would have an ice cream, but it turns out it's mostly for younger kids. And so it made sense that for Meesway, Ocean Park was a great location for them because we have so many young people here. And also, we have VinUnivesity. And I often see my students with Meesway or competing products along that line. If you're selling cars like VinFast cars, you have to understand who would want to buy a car, who could afford to actually buy a car. And knowing that cars are expensive, you know that it might be only the top 1% of economic earners in the Hanoi area or throughout Vietnam could actually buy cars. And maybe if you were able to loan them money and make it a very long-term loan, like 7 to 10 years, maybe that increases the pool of people that could buy cars. And of course, location really does matter, especially in retail. I work with a young man who maybe who's part of the class, and his family has a coffee shop, and it's an amazing location. It's across the street from three buildings, and behind it is another three buildings, and it's on a corner, and so there's bright light that comes into the coffee shop, and the colors are very comforting. So they did a good job of picking the location. Your next method for gathering information are doing surveys, and surveys should be short, no more than 10 questions, but really preferably 5 questions would be the ideal situation for if in fact you are doing surveys. Those are really good to go and do because people will take the time to answer short surveys. But if they have to answer anything more than 10, preferably 5, they're going to skip it. And sometimes you have to incentivize them to do surveys by saying that there will be a prize, that there's going to be a watch given away or gift cards given away, something that will encourage them to participate. And interviews, direct conversation for in-depth insights. If you can go and talk to people and say to them, I've come up with this idea. I think you're the right target buyer for it. I'd like to know if, in fact, you would really purchase this. I don't want you to tell me something to make me feel good. I would like you to tell me if, in fact, this is something that you would spend money on. If it isn't, I don't want to develop things that people don't really want. Because what happens is we waste a lot of time, energy, and especially money when we know people really don't want something. And we can do online research by looking at competitor websites, going on forums and asking people, hey, I've been looking for this product. Do you know anybody who makes it? Then all of a sudden people tell you either, no, I don't know anybody, or they go, oh, here's one, here's one. Like there are so many now AI competitors to chat that I'm learning about new ones all the time that I never even heard of before. So you can go on forums, you can go on social media, you can sit there and just observe people's behavior in real time. I like to go and watch who goes into coffee shops, who goes and buys in Meesway. I like to observe what people do and see if, in fact, there are ideas that come out of just observation for people. Conducting surveys. Keep your questions concise and clear and multiple choice. Uh, Use open-ended questions, like a good open-ended question. If you were doing a mobile game for, I don't know, for starting an entrepreneurial venture. You might ask the question, are you interested in entrepreneurship? Would you would you participate or want to use a mobile game that allowed you to learn about how to be an entrepreneur? So you might be asking these kinds of questions. And as I mentioned, if you can incentivize participation by either sharing information that you learned or that you are offering gift cards, that you'll do a random pick out of a hat type of name thing and send people, that would be great. Other examples of survey questions: what problem do you need help solving? That's always a good one. I did that when I ran a large trade association. And each year I'd come up with 180 ideas, but there'd be 3 or 4 that pretty much everybody identified, and then we would implement those. How much would you pay for this product or service? So you can get an idea if, in fact, um, what they're willing to pay in comparison to what it might cost you to do. So if you see there's enough net profit in it, not gross profit, but net, what falls to the bottom line after all your expenses, then that makes some sense. How often do you experience this problem? If it's a problem that happens rarely, then that may not be a big enough market for you. But if it happens pretty frequently, then that could be. So one of my students at Drexel University was in a neighborhood where the both husband and wife worked all the time, and it was a brand new neighborhood, and they didn't really have time to go mow the lawn, so they put out a flyer and said, anybody would like their lawns mowed, please let me know. Well, in the very first batch, he got 20 lawns, and he couldn't handle them all, so he started hiring other high school kids. He was a sophomore when he started doing this. By the time he was a senior graduating, he had 35 students working for him mowing lawns, and he had a multi-million-dollar business that he had, and he kept it all the way through school and kept growing it even when he graduated. When you're conducting surveys, prepare questions in advance. Choose a mix of target audience members. So if in fact you were going to open up a coffee shop, you might interview young people, 18 to 25. Another group maybe 35 to 45, then older group, maybe 55 and above, and see what they would like in a coffee shop, what kinds of food they would like to get. So you want a mix of people that you're going to be talking to see who might be the best target audience, see what they all might like, and see if there are some commonalities so you don't have to customize for each group. Listen actively and take detailed notes. Write everything down so you can go look at it later, or you interview them on Zoom, and Zoom will copy all the everything that everybody said, and will provide notes at the end of the session. Online research techniques: analyze comparator offerings and reviews. Take a look at their website, see what people have written about them. Use Google Trends. You can sign up for Google Trends and identify search patterns based on what you're looking at, and explore forums and social media discussions. So I joined different groups when I was coming to Vietnam to see what was going on in the Vietnam business marketplace. I joined different groups on AI to see what new products and tools the people are recommending. I look at social media discussions to find out if people are saying, I wish something was created that's not out there already. So there's plenty of places to get ideas, either to validate what you've been thinking about starting, or to disavow the fact that it's really not a good idea that people talked about and said there's not really a need, or you put out there, hey, does anybody know anybody who's developing this? And if people said, oh my God, I wish somebody was, I don't know anybody who's doing it, and that might be something like an app for babysitters in the Ocean Park area or some other part of the country, or a babysitting app that tells you where you can find babysitters anywhere in the country. I know here in Vietnam, typically people don't babysit other people's kids. They typically use family members, especially grandparents. But there's a lot of expats who have moved to Vietnam that don't have family members here, that have young kids because they've moved here and are working for companies here, and they need that babysitting support. Analyzing trends in demand, identify a common pain point that everybody has, assess the market size for what that might be, and determine if the demand is growing or declining. So there's statistics for all of these things that are out there, along with the surveys that you can do, along with asking people. So there's a lot of different ways that you can find this. The growth of online food delivery services in urban areas has been tremendous. And that's because Grab and other people have identified that people would love to have food from restaurants in the old quarter or in parts of Ho Chi Minh City or any of the major cities in Vietnam, and they want it delivered to them because they don't want to drive in and get it. They're too tired during the course of the day. And so having these services, being willing to pick up food and deliver them, whatever the cost is, because you're like, you know what, it's one time, two times, whatever it is, you accept the fact that you're willing to pay this bit of a premium to make sure you get the food that you were looking for. Case study in Grab, they identified a problem of lack of reliable and affordable transport options. They surveyed commuters and analyzed urban traffic patterns, and they developed a ride-hailing platform tailored to the Vietnamese consumer. After December, the government, I believe, has stated that you can't ride motorcycles into Hanoi. And so now people are going to be looking at bus transportation and Grab and B and Zan are all going to see a huge influx of customers because they will still be able to operate, but people won't be able to use their motorcycles. So they have to look at alternative forms of transportation. Activity, conducting a mock survey. So you might practice yourself on developing a survey and even testing it out with your friends to see what they might do and what questions that they might ask. And one of the things you could do is just ask friends what coffee flavors that they like, what price are they willing to pay, how often do they come, just so you can get the practice of putting a survey together and learning about that kind of information. You can conduct mock interviews with people like your family members and pick a topic that they could talk about. So you might say, I'm wondering, what are the best Italian restaurants to eat in at our city? What Italian restaurants do you like? What do you like about them? What are your favorite courses, meals that they make? What do you typically like to spend on this kind of meal? And so now you've learned their preferences. You learned what are the hot meals that they all like to eat. And you learned about what they're willing to pay. And so if you're advising somebody new on starting a new Italian restaurant, you could give them an idea about what people are willing to pay and spend and what pizzas they like and what pizzas they don't like. And now you're able to go and develop a strategy around that. You can create a simple report that has the purpose of the research, summarize the survey and interview data. By the way, you could take all of this information and then put it in a Word document and then ask AI to create a report for you based on everything that you've collected. And AI does a good job of putting that information together and helping you identify key insights and recommendations. But having these reports done and reviewing them and taking them all in, incredibly valuable for you to figure out whatever the idea that you have, especially if you're entering our high school entrepreneurship competition, which we're open to anything. We don't have a specific theme because we don't want to limit your thinking about what you want to develop, products or services. I mean, I've seen some amazing high school ventures. One, we have a student at VinUni that when I interviewed him, he told me about his online sneaker business where he knew all the distributors of unique sneakers and he put pictures on his website. He had 6 full-time people working for him. He was making $5,000 a month USD selling these sneakers. Very, very successful. Another high school student was getting her friends gowns they were no longer using and renting them out to other people. She started in Hanoi and has branched out to the entire country. So there's plenty of things that we can learn by doing market research, talking to people, and observing. Tools for reporting findings. You can create Excel spreadsheets. You can use Google Sheets. You can use Canva. You can show bar charts showing preferred things like coffee flavors. So there are different tools you can use. And Google, all the tools are free, so there's no reason not to use them. I'm using more and more Google and less Microsoft because I find that Google tools are so easy to use and find when you're putting things together. Using findings to make decisions, you adapt the offerings based on the feedback. If we had been smart and gotten feedback for my prompt payment venture, we would have saved ourselves a lot of money and time in terms of developing a product that people found acceptable. We refined our marketing messages based on specific target audiences because when we're marketing VinUnivesity, our message for students is different than our message for parents, different than our messages for mentors. So we have to think about in our market research, what do those audiences each want to hear and contour our messaging based on who we're actually speaking to. Implementing the market research insights, use the customer feedback to improve your features and design, set comparative prices based on market analysis. You got to find out what other people are charging. And of course, tailor your message to the audience. So what I'd like to do now is have you put your questions on chat. And I would like to hear any questions that you might have that I can answer. So please type your questions on chat. And this is a very critical part of the process is to do this market research. And you're lucky, you're in an era now that if you know how to ask the right questions, you can go onto Google search or you can go onto chat or Gemini or any of these and start putting information. I actually often use Kronk, Gemini, and chat. And I also use a great product developed by VinUni students called MindPal.io. That's MindPal.io. And I help it have them all help me do research and putting documents together. And it also, when I get the research, it leads me to go on those websites where the research came from and looking further and getting deeper analysis. So anybody have any questions for me? Any questions at all about market research? Again, I appreciate your patience when we had a technical problem. I thank you for letting me know that you couldn't hear me. No questions at all? Well, next week we'll be talking about how to identify revenue streams. And I look forward to seeing you all then. And a copy of this will be available probably by Tuesday. And I'll send it to everyone. Again, use the same link week after week, but I will always send you a reminder link. If there's some other question besides market research you would like to ask me, please type it in and I'm glad to answer it. Any questions at all? Okay, I won't hold you up and keep you. But again, you can always email me here, and you've gotten my email before at mark.k@vinuni.edu.vn. Again, I thank you all for coming. And if in fact you have any questions at all, I'm glad to answer them about anything. So please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, I thank you all for coming today. I look forward to seeing you next Sunday and I hope you have a great week. Take care.